They called my diagnosis as sick kids a dramatic diagnosis. Hey guys, it's Molly here again for another video, and today we are going to talk about the reason why my eyes never stop moving or shaking. Whatever you want to call it, dancing. That's what I prefer to say. This is a question I get all the time in real life, on the internet. I've touched on it in a ton of different videos and comments, but I've never actually just like dedicated a video to this. And when I dedicated a video to talking about why blind people keep their eyes open, which will be linked below, you guys really liked that format where I just like specifically answered a question in a like brief video. I don't know that this will be as brief because there's a bit more that goes into it, but I'll try to keep it as brief as Molly rambling can be, you know what I'm saying? Buckle up. So when I was 6 months old, my grandfather was holding me and noticed that my head would never stop shaking or vibrating or like kind of like bobbling around. I was like a little human bobblehead, a little 6 month old bobblehead, and my eyes would never stop shaking. He kind of urged my parents to take me to a doctor, that this was, you know, not so normal. They did. They took me to a doctor who sent them to a neurologist who sent them to the neurology clinic at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. That's when I was diagnosed with nystagmus. I'll have the word written across the screen so you can visually see it for those of you who aren't blind like myself. Nystagmus can be connected to things like brain tumors. They immediately did some tests, an MRI, to rule out a brain tumor or any other conditions, and you know, thankfully, I didn't have any of those. It was simply nystagmus, which is very rare to be born with. I believe, I don't know what it is now, but at the time, I believe my parents were told back in '94 when I was born that 1 in a million babies are born with it. Rare breed right here. What can I say? They were told she'll eventually grow out of the head shaking and that'll be that. And eventually that did happen. My eyes never stopped shaking, and they started noticing even more things, like my eyes weren't in line with each other. And that's when they took me back to Sick Kids Neurology and they said, nope, this isn't us anymore. Now this is ophthalmology, which is the eye doctor. So they sent me from the brain clinic to the eye clinic at Sick Kids. That's when I was diagnosed with strabismus, or a lazy eye, eventually retinitis pigmentosa, and all these other things. They called my diagnosis at Sick Kids a dramatic diagnosis, which I always tell my parents should have been like the indicator for the rest of my life. It's gonna be like a drama-filled roller coaster. Sometimes people with eye conditions like cataracts or retinitis pigmentosa, which is my disease, can have nystagmus, but it's typically not seen. It can be coupled together, but it's far more rare. Most people I know with my disease do not have nystagmus. And similarly, you can have nystagmus without having any other condition or issue. People often ask if I can feel them shaking, if I can stop them from shaking, if things appear to be shaking. So can I feel them shake? No. When my eyes are open, I cannot feel them shake. I did a video on like the moments I realized I was going blind, which I'll link below. In that I talked about how I didn't even know they were shaking until I was in grade 3. I can't feel them, but when I close my eyes and like put my fingers over my eyelids, I can actually feel them shaking under my eyelids, which is really weird. So I can't feel them, I cannot control it, I cannot stop it, it is involuntary. There is such thing as voluntary nystagmus, where people can actually force their eyes to shake and it's like a fun party trick. That's not the case for me or for like most people with nystagmus. Nystagmus can be like a standalone disease, like I said, or it can be a precursor for something like a brain tumor, a symptom of having a stroke, a symptom of brain trauma, brain injury, all of that kind of thing. So it's actually kind of funny. Like every time I see a doctor that's never seen me before, like I go into a walk-in clinic for a cough or something, they'll have on their chart that I like have a chest infection, and they're like, look at me, and the first thing they ask is like, how long have your eyes been shaking for? And I'm like, no worries, bro. It's been my whole 24 years on earth, so we're good. Yeah, it can be like a sign of bigger issue, but in my case, it's just one of the handful of diseases that God gifted me with. They will shake more if I'm tired, stressed, or sick. If you ever see a video where they're shaking more, you know I'm probably one of those 3 things. And my parents will always know. They're like, are you feeling okay? Are you stressed? Are you all right? And can I see things shaking? Obviously, if you know my channel, you know I only have really like light and some shadow perception left. I do see lights shaking. Growing up, I just thought lights always, like everybody just saw lights moving. I thought that was normal. Because when it's all you know, it's normal to you. So it was always normal to me to like, that street lights had a trail of light following them. And so to me, lights are always like moving in circles, I believe is how my eyes are moving. I'm not sure. I've never been able to look in the mirror and see them shake. You guys can tell me, I'll like insert a clip here of it, but most typically people with nystagmus have left to right shaking. That's like the very common nystagmus. Far more rare is up and down or circular. And I think I have the circular type because why wouldn't I have what's more rare? For people who just have nystagmus and do not have any other eye conditions, typically their brain corrects the shaking. So I have a friend, him and his twin brother were both born with far more severe nystagmus than me. So actually when you would look at the two of us, people would typically think he was the one with less vision than me because his eyes appeared more affected, when in reality, like, he could drive a car. He had 20/20 vision because his brain, he was born with it just like I was, and so was his brother, and so his brain just corrected it when his brain was like processing what his eyes were seeing. It just corrected it and stabilized the world, which is pretty cool. But there is people who have nystagmus and who have sight and who do see the world shaking, which can affect them in numerous ways. They're certainly not allowed to drive or anything like that. Yeah, I feel like that's like most of the nystagmus-y things that I have to talk about. That's all about why my eyes shake. It's funny, like some people notice it right away. Like they meet me and they're like, whoa, your eyes are shaking, what's wrong? And then other people, I like pointed out to them and they're like, oh, I totally didn't notice that. And they have to like really stare at me to see it. I don't know, tell me, comment down below, like when you first clicked on this video or on any of my videos, like when you first saw my videos, was it something that you immediately noticed about me, or is it something that you like saw over time? I don't know, let me know. I'm really curious how obvious my shaking eyes were to you watching this. That's why my eyes shake. That's why they never stop bobbling around, dancing, if you will. Hopefully I answered all your nystagmus related questions, and I'll try to link some information below about it. Some more like scientific medical information, because you know, I'm just a human who has it. I'm not like sciencey at all. So that's what I can tell you, and I hope this answered your questions. You found it interesting. I don't know. Give it a thumbs up if you learned something new. That's all I've got to say about it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.